Princess Sorella stood on the highest balcony of her crystal palace, her pale violet eyes fixed on the horizon. Dawn's first light painted the sky in soft pinks and blues, and the spires of the Valari capital glowed like stars come alive. For centuries, her people had lived in careful isolation, proud of their history and wary of outsiders. Sorella felt the weight of her ancestors' expectations pressing on her shoulders. When the human envoy ship Odyssey Dawn appeared above the city, she felt her heart flutter with equal parts excitement and fear. Below, Ambassador Chen and his small delegation prepared to step onto the gleaming landing platform. Chen adjusted the collar of his Earth-made suit for the 100th time. Though he was trained in diplomacy and fluent in the Valari language, he could not erase the pounding of his heart. Stories of alien royalty had filled his childhood dreams, but now his dreams stood before him, and he wondered if he could live up to the moment. A soft chime announced the ship's descent, and Sorella's breath caught. She smoothed the folds of her silver gown, designed to reflect light like the crystals that surrounded her. Her hand rested on the smooth railing, cool against her palm. As the shuttle doors opened, she felt a trembling of anticipation. The human stepped out, his tall frame straight and his dark hair shining in the morning sun. He gave a respectful bow, the first ever offered by a human to a Valari princess. In the hushed courtyard below, courtiers whispered and exchanged curious glances. Some hid their disapproval behind polite masks. Others openly frowned at the idea of welcoming strangers. Sorella felt their eyes on her, their unspoken question. "Can we trust them?" She lifted her chin, determined to show strength. When Chen approached the stairs, Sorella descended to meet him. Her gown's hem whispered across the smooth stone. She offered her hand, and he took it gently. The sensation of human warmth surprised her. She felt a flutter in her chest, like the first bloom of spring. The crowd held its breath as the two unlikely leaders clasped hands. In that moment, Sorella saw hope and fear in Chen's eyes, hope for friendship, fear of rejection. They walked together beneath tall, crystalline arches, their footsteps echoing in a hush. Chen spoke softly of Earth's bustling cities, of green forests and rushing rivers. Sorella listened, her curiosity awakening. She thought of the endless crystal deserts of Velar, silent and still. Could humans truly understand her world? Could she trust their kindness? A gentle breeze stirred the crystalline leaves of nearby trees, sending a cascade of shimmering light across the courtyard. Sorella paused, lifting her gaze to meet Chen's. For a heartbeat, they shared a silent understanding. Both stood far from home, both unsure of what lay ahead. She felt her pride soften, replaced by a strange sweetness. An advisor's urgent whisper broke the moment. Sorella nodded and turned to her counsel. Chen bowed his head in respect. The elders reminded Sorella of protocol. The humans must follow strict etiquette or face swift disapproval. Sorella raised her hand to silence them. She remembered her own mother's words, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to move forward in spite of it." With steady steps, Sorella led Chen toward the Hall of First Light, where the formal welcome banquet would take place. Torches flickered along the path, and crystalline sculptures glinted like distant stars. Chen's eyes shone with wonder, and Sorella felt a surge of protectiveness. She realized that beyond their differences, they both sought connection and peace. As they entered the grand hall, Sorella felt her heart settle. The long table stretched before them, laden with unfamiliar delicacies, glowing fruits, soft crystal bread, and sweet nectar that tasted like moonlight. She offered Chen her arm, guiding him to the seat of honor. The crowd fell silent, waiting for her cue. Sorella took a slow breath and delivered her greeting in clear, gentle tones. Her voice echoed softly off the crystal walls. She spoke of hope, of new beginnings, and of the chance to learn from one another. Chen met her gaze and offered his own words of friendship. In that moment, neither Valari nor human felt the same as before. A fragile bridge had been built. As the first notes of music drifted through the hall, Sorella allowed herself a small, genuine smile. The future was unknown and perhaps frightening, but in Chen's presence, she felt ready to face it. and deep inside, a spark of excitement flickered, an ember of possibility that could grow into something beautiful for both their worlds. Princess Sorella entered the grand banquet hall with measured steps. The soft glow of crystal chandeliers lit the long tables dressed in silken cloth. Courtiers lined the walls, their eyes flicking between her and the human envoy. Flutter of pride at her poise, but also a thin thread of unease. The air was heavy with expectation. Ambassador Chen followed respectfully, his posture straight and calm. He glanced at the unfamiliar dishes arranged before him, glowing fruits that looked like liquid moonlight and crystal bread that chimed when broken. His heart pounded as he recalled Earth's simple meals, but he did not let his nerves show. He aimed to honor Valari customs. Sorella signaled to begin the feast. Soft music rose from hidden musicians, their notes dancing through the hall like light. She lifted a goblet of sparkling nectar and offered Chen a gentle nod. He raised his cup, and they drank together. The sweet liquid slid down their throats, and Sorella felt her tension ease. The first course arrived on floating platters. Smiled at Sorella and made a small joke about Earth's plain bread being less musical. She laughed, a clear sound that rippled through the hall. For a moment, the two felt connected beyond rank or race. But as dessert plates hovered near, a distant whisper caught Sorella's ear. An elder courtier leaned toward Sorella and spoke in a low voice. The words were sharp, accusing human humor as crude. "We must be cautious." Sorella felt a sting of anger. She straightened her back and turned her gaze to the council. Their frowns and narrowed eyes weighed on her. Suddenly, a translator flickered and a voice echoed through the hall. It garbled Chen's earlier joke about bread, twisting it into an insult against Valari traditions. Gasps filled the room. Chen's face drained of color. He bowed deeply and stammered an apology. Sorella watched each reaction: shock, anger, and confusion. Her heart beat fast. In that flash of sound, centuries of distrust flared anew. Sorella felt the old fear creeping in, fear of betrayal and misunderstanding. But she remembered her vow to stay strong, to build the fragile bridge between worlds. She rose from her seat, letting her gown spill like moonlight across the floor. "Please," she said softly, yet firmly, "let us speak with honesty." Her voice cut through the murmurs. She faced Chen. "Your words were kind. Our translator failed us." Her eyes softened when Chen bowed again, relief and respect in his stance. The crowd fell into an uneasy silence. Sorella guided Chen to a side alcove where candles flickered against crystal walls. "I am sorry you bear my people's doubt," she said quietly. Chen's voice trembled with relief. "Your kindness outshines any mistake," he replied. Sorella felt warmth bloom in her chest. She realized that trust must be earned again and again, not given freely. Returning to the hall, Sorella raised her voice to address both Valari and humans. She told them of hopes, of new friendships, and of the promise they held together. Her words rang clear and true. The courtiers, moved by her courage, bowed their heads in respect. As the banquet ended, Sorella stepped onto the palace balcony once more. The twin moons of Velar glowed in the dark sky. She looked at Chen, standing a respectful distance away. Neither spoke, but both understood. This journey would test them. Yet Sorella felt a steady flame of hope. She would not let fear win. Their story was only beginning. Princess Sorella woke before sunrise and walked through the palace corridors alone. Soft light filtered through crystal windows, painting the walls in pale colors. She felt a gentle excitement. Today she would show Ambassador Chen the famous Crystal Gardens, a place of peace and beauty. Her heart fluttered as she thought of sharing her world with him. Chen arrived at the garden gate, bowing low in respect. He wore a simple robe gifted by Sorella, woven from moonsilk threads. The robe shimmered in the early light. Sorella smiled when she saw him. He looked human, yet somehow at home among the crystals. She offered her arm, and together they stepped under the arching crystalline vines. The gardens were alive with soft music. Tiny crystal flowers rang like bells when the breeze touched them. Chen paused to listen, eyes wide with wonder. He reached out to touch a flower. It sang a clear, sweet note. Sorella laughed softly at his joy. For a moment, they shared pure delight without words. They walked along a winding path of polished, white stone. Pools of clear water reflected the sky. Chen spoke of Earth's oceans, telling of waves that rose like mountains and children who played in the surf. Sorella listened with rapture. On Valari, water was rare and precious, she pictured. Earth's seas in her mind, blue and vast. She felt a shy longing to see them one day. As they walked, Sorella pointed out secret glades where crystal lanterns glowed at night. She spoke of her childhood when she and her friends would race along the paths, chasing laughter under the twin moons. Chun's face warmed with understanding. He told her of Earth's festivals, where people danced under lantern light and shared stories around a fire. Sorella felt a bond growing between them, as if their hearts beat to the same gentle rhythm. They reached a clearing where a solitary crystal tree stood. Its branches curved like open arms, and at its base lay a circle of smooth stones. Sorella guided Chen to sit on one of the stones. She sat beside him. A hush fell over the garden, broken only by distant bird calls. Chen looked at her, his dark eyes reflecting the crystal lights. He said, "I have seen wonders today, princess. I feel honored." Sorella felt a warmth in her chest. She had been taught to guard her heart, but Chen's words touched something deep inside her. She found herself trusting him. She shared a secret. "My father says the garden is a place of truth. Here, people speak honestly." Chen nodded, and in that moment their friendship felt sacred, unseen by them. Two Valari spies watched from behind a crystal wall. They whispered hurriedly into small devices. "The princess is too close to the human," one hissed. Fear crept into Sorella's mind when she sensed eyes upon her. She stood and turned, noticing the spies slipping away. Her heart stung with betrayal. Could her own guards question her choice? Chen saw her worry. He offered his hand. "Trust your heart, princess," he said softly. His calm voice eased her doubt. She took his hand, and they stood together under the crystal tree. The morning sun brightened the petals around them. Sorella felt a fierce protectiveness for Chen. She knew that although some feared humans, she would defend him always. They walked back toward the palace in companionable silence. Their footsteps echoed on the marble path. Sorella felt a quiet triumph. She had shown him her world, and he had shown her his heart. She believed that together they could bridge the gap between Valari and human. Their journey was not yet over, but in this moment they had passed the first, true test of trust. And in that knowledge bloomed hope for both their peoples. Princess Sorella sat in the bright council chamber, her silver gown glowing under the crystal lights. Around her, the emperor's senior advisors whispered urgently. Their words felt like sharp arrows. "The human envoy must leave," one hissed. "He threatens our way of life," another snapped. Sorella clenched her hands in her lap, her heart pounding like a drum. She remembered the laughter in the crystal gardens and Chen's gentle smile. She had promised herself to see this visit. Through now, doubts and fear pressed on her like heavy stones. An advisor stepped forward with a scroll in his hand. He read aloud. "The human's broken etiquette during the banquet shows disrespect. We cannot trust his people." The chamber grew colder as every eye turned to Sorella. She felt the weight of centuries of tradition bearing down on her. Outside the tall windows, the city's spires shone peacefully, but inside she felt a storm raging. Sorella rose from her seat. Her gown's hem whispered across the polished floor. The room fell. Silent, the courtier's eyes fixed on her pale face. Taking a steady breath, she spoke in a clear, gentle voice. "My people, I understand your fears, but I ask you to remember why we invited them. We sought friendship, new ideas, and hope." Her voice trembled only slightly. She forced herself to meet each advisor's gaze. "We cannot close our doors before we know what wonders may lie ahead." The lead advisor's lips curled in disdain. "You risk everything, princess. Our people will suffer if we open ourselves to outsiders." He leaned close, his voice cold as ice. "You must end this foolish experiment. Sorella felt her throat tighten. She thought of Chana's kindness when the translator failed, his awe in her gardens, and the melody they made together in the Library of Echoes just beyond the city walls. That memory shone like a beacon in her mind. She stood taller. "Tell me," she said, her voice steady now, "what have humans done to harm us so far?" "They have shared laughter, music, and stories. They have shown respect for our customs. I have seen warmth in their hearts." She paused, letting her words settle. "Should we condemn an entire world for fear of what we do not understand?" A tense hush fell over the chamber. Some advisors shifted uncomfortably. The Emperor, seated upon his crystal throne, watched Sorella with calm eyes. He nodded once, as if giving her permission to continue. Sorella felt a surge of strength. She moved toward the throne and knelt before him. "Father," she said softly, "give me a chance to prove that trust can build bridges stronger than any wall." Her voice held both respect and determination. The Emperor raised his hand to silence the court. "You have spoken with courage, my daughter," he said. His voice was low but carried through the hall. "We will allow the human envoy to remain until the festival of First Light. During this time, Princess Sorella will guide him. After that, we will decide together whether to extend our friendship." A murmur spread through the advisors. For some nodded reluctantly, others scowled but fell silent. Sorella rose and bowed deeply to her father, then turned to Chen, who had been waiting patiently outside the chamber doors. He stepped forward, concern in his dark eyes. Sorella held out her hand. "Thank you for trusting me," she whispered. He took her hand and pressed it gently. In that small touch, they shared relief and renewed hope. Later, as the sun dipped low and the crystal city glowed in twilight, Sorella stood once more on her balcony. She watched as Chen's ship rested on the landing platform below, its hull gleaming like polished silver. She knew the path ahead would be difficult. Doubt and fear still lingered in the hearts of her people, but she believed in the spark they had kindled together. Somewhere in the depth of her soul, she felt a fierce light burning a promise that hope and friendship could conquer even the darkest of fears. And as the first star appeared in the evening sky, Sorella whispered to herself, "We will not fail." Princess Sorella led Ambassador Chen through a narrow corridor carved from pale crystal. The walls glowed softly, lighting their path with gentle blue light. Chen followed quietly, his eyes wide. He had never seen anything like this. Eyeless, heart fluttered with excitement. She hoped he would understand why the Library of Echoes was sacred to her people. At the end of the corridor, massive doors of clear crystals stood silent. Sorella placed her hand on a carved symbol, and the doors opened with a low hum. Inside, the chamber stretched wide, its domed ceiling covered in shimmering prisms. Rose. A floating platform circled a central pool of still water. Every surface seemed alive with light. Chun gasped at the scene, his breath echoing in the hush. "The library is more than books," Sorella said softly, guiding him onto the first platform. "Here, our history sings." She pointed to the pool. "The water holds echoes of our past. When we share our voice, the crystals and water join together to remember." Chen knelt by the pool's edge. He saw faint ripples of light beneath its surface, like hidden stars. He reached out slowly, as if touching a dream. Sorella took a deep breath. She stood tall and spoke her first line of Valari history, her voice gentle but clear. The crystals overhead shivered, and a soft melody rose, weaving through the air. Light danced across the water. Chen watched, moved by the beauty of sound made visible. When Sorella finished, the music lingered in the air like a warm embrace. Chen stepped forward. He closed his eyes and remembered a poem from Earth's childhood. Songs. He spoke in his own voice, gentle and true. At first his words seemed simple, almost shy. But as he found his rhythm, his tone grew stronger. The crystal prisms trembled, and the water pulsed. The two melodies intertwined into something new, neither purely Valari nor purely human, but a blend that felt hopeful and bright. Chest filled with joy. She had never heard this combination before. The melody rose higher, echoing off the crystal walls. Chen opened his eyes and smiled at Sorella, his dark eyes shining. She felt warmth bloom inside her. In that perfect moment, she understood that true friendship could create wonders neither world had ever known. Nearby, hidden recording crystals captured every note. Sorella imagined her people hearing this new harmony and feeling its promise. She felt a fierce hope stirring in her heart. Fear and doubt seemed to vanish inside the glowing chamber. She turned to Chen, her smile soft and proud. "You have given us a gift," she whispered. Chen shook his head gently. "No," he said, voice thick with feeling, "we gave this gift together." He reached out and took Sorella's hand. She squeezed his fingers lightly, feeling the gentle pulse of his kindness. Around them, the echoing melody faded into silence, but its warmth lingered in the air like the first light of dawn breaking through night. They stepped back onto the corridor floor, hearts light. Sorella guided Chen toward the exit. She felt more certain than ever that her choice was right. Humans and Valari could learn from one another. They could build something beautiful beyond fear. As the crystal doors closed behind them, Sorella looked at Chen with gratitude. "Thank you," she said simply. Outside, the sky glowed with early afternoon light. The twin moons still hung faint in the sky, as if watching over them. Together, Sorella and Chen walked back toward the palace. In their minds, the melody of the Library of Echoes played on, a promise of hope for both their worlds. And with every step, Sorella felt her heart grow stronger, ready for whatever came next. Princess Sorella stood at the edge of the newly built cultural center, her silver gown catching the morning light like a promise. The building rose from the marble courtyard, its walls a lattice of crystal and steel. Designed by human engineers and Valari artisans, Ambassador Chen stood beside her, dressed in a robe woven from Valari, moon silk, and earth cotton. Together, they prepared to cut the ribbon woven of blue and white strand symbols of both their worlds. Sorella's heart fluttered with pride and hope. A gentle breeze stirred the courtyard flags, and a soft melody rose from hidden speakers. It was the harmony Chen and Sorella created in the Library of Echoes, now recorded and played for all to hear. The music swelled as Sorella took a deep breath. She lifted the crystal scissors in her hand and smiled at Chen. With a shared nod, they snipped the ribbon. A cheer rose from the gathered crowd of humans and Valari, their voices blending into a single, joyful sound. Inside the center, rows of exhibits displayed human paintings next to Valari, crystal sculptures. Children from both worlds ran through interactive displays, their laughter echoing off the polished floors. Sorella watched as a human child reached out to touch a glowing Valari flower, and a Valari child giggled as she tried the human game console. Chen whispered in Sorella's ear, "Look at them. This is why we did this." Sorella felt tears of happiness prick her eyes. Near the entrance, Sorella and Chen welcomed VIP guests, leading scientists, artists, and diplomats. Each greeting was warm and respectful, a dance of cultures meeting. A Valari poet recited a new verse inspired by human tales of bravery. A human engineer demonstrated a device that converted moonlight into clean energy for Valari homes. With every exchange, Sorella felt the walls between their peoples dissolve. In the central hall, Sorella stepped onto a low dais. She placed a hand on the heart-shaped crystal in the florin, ancient Valari symbol of unity. Clearing her throat, she spoke, "Today we stand together not as strangers, but as friends. We share our art, our knowledge, and our dreams. We have built this center as a home for our cultures to grow side by side." Her voice was steady, her words simple and clear. The audience listened in respectful silence. Chun joined her on the dais, placing his hand over Sorella's on the crystal symbol. He smiled broadly and said, "On Earth, we believe that when we share our stories, we find what connects us. Here we build a bridge of stories between our worlds." Sorella felt a warm glow at his words. The crowd erupted in applause, and she realized that fear had given way to excitement and curiosity. After the speeches, Sorella and Chen toured the center's final exhibit, the Garden of Shared Hope. In this glass-domed room, human flowers bloomed alongside Valari crystal trees. Water trickled through channels of colored sand from Earth's deserts and Valari's crystal sands. As they walked hand in hand, Sorella looked at Chen and whispered, "This garden shows our future." Chen nodded, his eyes shining with the same belief. As the sun dipped low and the twin moons rose outside, Sorella and Chen stepped onto the balcony of the cultural center. They gazed at the city spires illuminated beneath a violet sky. Sorella felt her soul soar. The journey had tested her courage and patience, but now she knew that hope and friendship could transform worlds. She squeezed Chen's hand and said, "Together, we will write the next chapter." And as the first stars blinked into existence, Sorella believed with all her heart that their story had only just begun. Princess Sorella stood before the great crystal throne in the council hall, her silver gown flowing like moonlight across the polished floor. Around her, the emperor's advisors and noble families gathered, their faces tense. Sorella felt her heart beat like a drum, echoing in her ears. Today, she would ask them to trust her vision. The emperor sat upon his throne, his calm eyes fixed on Sorella. She bowed deeply and then rose, lifting her chin with gentle strength. A hush fell over the hall. Sorella's voice began softly, but grew with conviction. "Honored council, I stand before you not just as princess, but as guardian of our future." She paused, letting her words settle. She thought of the Library of Echoes, where her voice had joined human song. She remembered Chen's hand in hers under the crystal tree. She recalled the laughter in the gardens and the shared meal when the translator failed. Each memory gave her courage. "In our history, we have closed our world to protect it," Sorella continued. "But protection can become prison. We risk loneliness and fear if we remain shut away. Yet when we open our hearts, we invite wonder and growth." Her voice was clear, each word shining like a crystal. One advisor rose to object. His robes of dark blue rippled with disapproval. "Your Highness," he said, "human ways are unpredictable. They may bring danger." His tone was sharp, his eyes cold. The crowd murmured agreement, old fears rising like shadows. Sorella met his gaze without flinching. "Yes, humans are different," she said. "They have strengths and faults like any people. But I have seen their kindness. I have felt their respect for our customs." She took a breath, steadying herself. Should we judge them before giving them a true chance? The lead noble, a tall woman with crystal tattoos on her arms, spoke next. "If we ally with humans, we weaken ourselves," she argued. "We risk losing our identity." Sorella's chest tightened. She remembered her mother's words. Identity is not lost by sharing. It is strengthened by understanding. Sorella stepped forward, her voice firm. "Our identity as Valari is born of curiosity and respect for beauty. We honor truth in the Library of Echoes, where our past sings. Let us add human voices to that song, not to erase our history, but to enrich it." She scanned the faces of her people. The hall was silent. Even the elder advisors waited, arms folded. Sorella felt a moment's doubt, but then the emperor raised his hand. He nodded gently, giving her permission to finish. "During the festival of first light," she said, "we will share knowledge and celebrate together. After the festival, we will decide if this partnership serves our people." A soft glow spread across the council members. Some hands unclenched, hopeful smiles flickered. The tension in the air melted like frost. Sorella felt relief mingle with joy. She had not only spoken, she had reached their hearts. The emperor rose from his throne and addressed the hall. "Princess Sorella has spoken wisely and bravely. We will embrace this chance for unity. Let us prepare for the festival and welcome our human friends as equals." His words rang through the hall like a triumphant melody. As the council hall emptied, Sorella found Ambassador Chen waiting just outside the great doors. His dark eyes shone with admiration. She stepped forward and offered her arm. "They have agreed," she whispered, voice trembling with happiness. Chen bowed and then placed his hand over his heart. Together, they walked through the palace corridors, their footsteps echoing in celebration. Sorella felt the thrill of possibility. Her people and humans would stand side by side. Later, as night fell and the twin moons rose over the city, she stood on her balcony once more, hand in Chen's. She gazed at the glittering spires and felt hope swell in her chest. The future was bright, and at last the Valeri would truly reach for the stars together with humanity.